Well, hello, and welcome to our Subconscious Speaks. My name's Don Robert, and together with my amazing, talented superhero, best friend ever,
Teen Orlando.
and together we are.
Teen Orlando.
Do you get it? I see the smile. You get a little chuckle out of my intro. Like it's
Of course.
evolving each
Of
episode.
course.
I just, I gush on you because I just love and adore you so much. So,
Aw.
hi, hello, welcome everybody to our Subconscious Speaks. We're
Mm.
we're going to be continuing on into this new year and just sharing the good word and talking about everything in between the conscious and the subconscious and anything that strikes our fancy or yours. So we encourage you to come along for the ride, like, subscribe, follow. If you see a video that you like, feel free to share it with somebody. I mean, last week we did this Valentine's Day, find out your love language challenge. I'd be
Mhm.
curious to see how many people actually did that. I can tell you that I know of a few that have shared with me their results, so I know it's
How did that
happening.
go?
Uh, and so another kind of opportunity to just share the good word and if you have a topic that you'd love to hear us talk about, please send a comment, send a message directly to either of us, and
Mhm.
we love it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
how you doing, Tina?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm
You're here.
I'm
Okay.
good. I'm good. I'm
All right.
good. Yeah. I'm,
There's some inference in there.
I'm good. Let's see. Things seem to be, getting back to normal now a little bit. Traffic not, but at
Yeah,
least
didn't they
people seem to
close
be
down
getting.
PCH from Santa Monica up to Ventura?
Yeah, PCH is absolutely closed. The mudslides, landslides, flooding, you know, that's
Yeah.
that's what's
I
going
mean,
on
everybody's
there.
like, "Oh, it's raining in LA. Yay." Like, well,
No.
kind of, yeah, no. Like 3 weeks
Mm-mm.
ago, if it was raining, that would be good, but
That would
it
have been
was
really
it
good,
still
but
caused
no.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And now it's,
Were you up for the earthquake last night?
I was not. I didn't feel it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-mm,
Just
mm-mm.
just about a 3 point something something.
That's
Pretty
nothing.
supposedly in Thousand Oaks, but one of my statistician friends said it was 50 miles from where I am, so
Mm,
they know my location.
okay.
And yeah, but I felt it, but it wasn't like one of those big ones last year where the whole house shakes for, 5 seconds, which is an eternity when your house is shaking. It was more
Hmm.
of what, like I call it, in the spirit of hockey season, I call it a little hip check to the building,
Hmm.
where it's like
Hmm.
the you can hear the pictures rattling off the wall for just a few seconds, and then it stopped.
Yeah, yeah. Have you experienced a big earthquake?
Last year when it
Mm,
was a rolling, no, I haven't. I wasn't here in
not one of the big
90
ones.
94, whenever
Okay.
that Northridge quake was.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, yeah. I wasn't here for 94. I was in the Bay Area for the Bay Bridge falling and the
Oh
Cypress
boy.
falling.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I don't
terrifying.
know what's happening. We seem to lead off the episodes with like disaster story sharing. Like, so sorry, everybody. It's just kind of what happens naturally.
Hmm.
All
But
right. Well,
yes.
so something happened last week. If you saw the short that we created from last week's episode, it was about this moment that led to the love language challenge. But the beginning of it is quite the essence of our relationship and the way that we chip or banter with each other. And this whole topic of the bad boy got brought up,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
I've of course thought about this over the last week because
I'm ready.
you're ready.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
All right. Well, I'm very curious because I've actually experienced being the bad boy.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And I was talking to my friend about this, and I said, when I kind of matured emotionally
Hmm.
and started to really shift and change, and like there was a distinct difference between how I thought of myself. I mean, I have tattoo sleeves, I have a motorcycle, like I have a couple of the traditional kind of bad
Traits.
boy vibes.
Hmm.
Um, but I started saying, yeah, I used to be a bad boy and now I'm a good man.
Mm,
So it was
hmm.
interesting in the moment when you were like, well, who doesn't like a bad boy? And I paused, and
Hmm.
that memory of me in that talk track did not come up. But in the moment, I thought I took it as a sincere question. I was like, who doesn't like the bad boy? Well, the good guy,
Right,
right? The good
right.
men that are out there that are, so I'm very curious from it's traditionally, right, hence the boy part. It's traditionally male female relationship, and it's the man boy,
Hmm.
however old, right? You could be a 50-year-old boy.
Yeah. Mm,
So I'm curious from you say you're ready. I'm curious from
mm,
your standpoint. I was thinking that maybe you could take advantage of the fact that I've been on both sides of this
hmm.
phrase,
Hmm.
that you could take the opportunity to ask me anything you want. And I think
Mm.
established that, and people have noticed that I openly share at will. So and I had some people tell me they were very they saw how uncomfortable it felt, but that when I kind of put you on the spot and made you share last week, they liked it. Yeah.
Of course, and
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But yes. Um, so my
So,
theory, so
yeah.
my personal theory,
Okay.
see if it maybe you can cooperate with me, is that I think primally why women and girls, females in general, like or attracted to a bad boy is because it's primarily built in that that bad boy can then protect them.
Mm,
So genetically, primarily evolutionary, I think that's why we are drawn to that bad boy image. It gives you a sense of security. Um, and of course, as you evolve, you realize that really what you need protecting from is the bad boy. But
there's some
um,
irony.
yes, it's true.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that primarily that females in general are drawn to that bad boy image.
I mean, they're
Um,
typically chariz uh, have charisma.
yeah.
There's an air of confidence, shoulders back, chest out, kind of
Hmm.
like my shit don't stink kind of attitude that
Hmm.
um like I think we've talked about this, right? In the whole like nature of
Hmm.
like animalistic behavior of
Hmm.
the female puts out the pheromone. And again, I feel like we need to continually, I feel like maybe not we, but I just want to be respectful to the LGBTQ community plus community, that like we're talking about just traditional roles. See yourself in either one at any time in your life. It's whatever
Right.
applies, but for the sake of it, the pronouns, we're just going to talk about men and women.
Hmm.
But so just if you're listening, just take on whatever role in that relationship you play,
Yeah.
or if you're non-binary and you're fluid or what, just you're all
E-
welcome. Whatever you
Either
relate to is
whatever you relate to, you're still
yeah,
going to fall on one side or the other.
typically, yes. Yeah,
You are.
yeah.
Either you've got the bad, darker, dominant energy, or you have a nicer, kinder, gentler way about you. Um,
I mean, is
you
it
know,
inappropriate at this point to be calling that feminine energy? Is that sexist?
well,
I have feminine energy.
no,
It's
don't,
not
I don't
it's
think
it's
so.
not my dominant
I think we all have both,
characteristic.
right? Like we
I
both,
think so too.
yeah,
Yeah.
we all have a very, a masculine and a feminine energy. Um, and stronger women are usually seen as more masculine. Women that are smart
Ugh.
or um, independent or they have no problem voicing their opinions, or they are seen as more masculine, independent, dominant. And that usually scares most, that will scare a kinder man away. Um, so they end up, um, you know, really being pushed towards that masculine dominant bad boy image, I think, primarily because they could take care of the female that is strong, a warrior like woman
Hmm.
can typically take care of herself. So most people find that a little intimidating.
It's interesting that you just brought that up, and I kind of wrote down a note uh, because I'm doing really much better in not interrupting because I notice it when other people are interrupters, and it's like I it's just not my preference to so, it's interesting that if a man acts like that, dominant and like they're like revered and they're it's acceptable and it's almost expected. But if a woman is like that, she's the B word, she's,
The
there's
bitch.
these negative adjectives that describe that personality.
Mm-hmm.
Although if it was a man, they would be celebrated typically, which is so
My
I guess
plight.
we're swearing today, so that's ass backwards, man. And I'd like
Well,
to
it speaks
think
to the
it's evolving a
insecurity.
little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that?
Well, I think it speaks to the insecurity of people, whether they are,
Mm,
so if you're a strong person on either side, um, you know, I mean, as I can only speak for females, if you're a strong female, usually you'll hear the word that you're a bitch or that you're intimidating. And let's just be clear, strong women are not intimidating. However, that person is intimidated. There's a very big difference.
mm.
I'm not doing any, and I've been told that many times, and I'm not doing anything to intimidate you.
On and off the bike.
Yes.
And if you didn't catch that in one of the episodes, Tina used to be a spin instructor, and uh,
It's terrifying.
there's some terrifying adjectives to describe her demeanor when she's doing
Hmm.
that. I think the nicest I can use without, completely turning this into a shit show episode where we have to mark explicit, drill sergeant is probably the nicest
It
adjective
is.
or description. Would that be
It
fair?
is. Yes, sure.
You know
Absolutely.
what? Listen, if I'm going to a spin class, I expect that. I don't care if
Right.
you what you have between your legs. I
Right.
want you to push me and, you know,
Right. Right.
encourage me in a way that is like, well, you and just
Oh
go,
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
point of the spinning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, same
But
thing. But same thing. Um, you know, it, strong women hear those things constantly. Um, that they are intimidating, they're a bitch, they're mean, they're this, they're that. And the reality is I don't believe that. I
they're
think that's
strong is what it
coming.
is. And that
Yes.
is off-putting too, especially if you don't have bad boy energy and can't handle that or meet it,
Right. You have
right?
to meet
Then
it.
it's like you feel like you have to slide into this demeaning role, which
Hmm.
which is on off balance. So it's very
Hmm.
interesting that we're over here in this part of the conversation.
Well, yeah, it's well, yes. But I think even when you are that dominant, I think you become then the challenge for the bad boy. Can I get her not to be like that? And then there comes the strife between that world. But I definitely think that females in general are primarily are looking for that protector.
Hmm.
Um, that's what evolution would say.
That
Um,
isn't that the primitive part of our mind that we're all born with, those kind of
yes,
primitive roles in the fight or
yes,
flight that's built in to protect us.
yes,
The negative
yes,
bias, like all the things that we've been talking about on and
yes.
off through all these
Hmm.
episodes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they see that as, this safety and challenge. So I think there's a lot to be said about that bad boy image. When they see the bad boy, they either want it, you know, they want to tame that bad boy, and that's not going to happen.
Ah,
That's not going to. Nobody changes because you want them to. People change because
right.
they want to,
And when they're
with,
ready to.
and when they're ready,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When it's not serving them anymore.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, that's, I think, and it's exciting, right? Like that's,
We're not boring, that's for sure.
I mean,
Typically. I mean, I'm not much of a bad boy when I'm watching like all of Cobra Kai last night, although I'm getting a little riled up, but like 6 episodes, I think it was six in a
right.
row. And like Netflix is so good now, they're like 2 episodes left. And I'm like, no. Because I was really getting into it. They did a nice job wrapping up the series.
Right, right.
But
Well,
I, that I'm not very bad boyish when I'm a recliner with my
mhm.
blankie. It's
Yeah, well,
cold in
I
here.
mean,
It's cold in California.
it's true. But, there is something to be said for, and it also comes down to the opposites, right? Opposites attract.
Typically, yes.
So if you're a really good, nice girl, you're gonna attract that bad boy. Yeah, usually.
So is that it, really? Is that the problem that the good girls face is that they want the bad boy because it fits their puzzle piece genetically or like if you're all born with that kind of seek your opposite thing.
Well, then it's
Um,
exciting because it's not something you know. So nice would be something they
mm,
know. I
right.
mean, a really good example of that is the movie Grease. I know I'm dating myself,
Okay, but
but hear
wait, Dan,
but hear me out.
I think she met Danny, but when they came back, he was, you know,
Zook.
whatever.
He was Zuko,
He was different.
right?
He was a
Right,
different persona.
right.
She met
And
him, on the beach in the summer.
right, and he was super sweet, and
Uh-huh.
he
Uh-huh.
pulled her in,
He was his
and
authentic self is what he was, in my
uh-huh,
opinion. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But then in front of everybody, he's this bad boy, right? And
Hmm.
then she's got to go all the way over to his side and be a bad girl in order to
Uh-huh.
get him.
Tell me about it, stud.
There you
I love
go.
that show.
See?
I love that movie.
See?
Yeah.
Um, Breakfast Club is another one. The complete opposites sort of are attracting.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's just natural because we don't like what we know. We like the opposite of us. Think about it.
Okay.
Hmm.
But in the spirit of known associations and
Yes.
knowns being pleasurable,
Oh, I
like,
got this one.
go ahead. Well,
No, no, go
so
ahead.
do I need
Go,
to
go,
finish the question
go.
even?
Yes.
Why don't you just
Go.
take over?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go
No.
ahead. No, I'm done. Go ahead. So explain that to us,
Well,
miss.
okay. So, so if it's
And stop, pause. Where's the father come into all of this? Because the father is who really indicates, oh, did I just steal your thunder? Sorry. I'm
I
smart
got the answer.
too. I'm
I
smart
know.
too. Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes.
Go ahead.
Okay. So,
Look how adorable she is today. Oh my God, she's all fired up to talk about this.
if typically females are most like their fathers, right? Because that's where we
They're
get
most
our
like or most attract or most
no,
likely to attract.
no, no, no. They're most like their fathers.
Yes, okay, okay. So we haven't really explained this. We haven't talked about the relationship test that is similar but not the same as the suggestibility test that we do
Right,
to figure out your preference in the way that you learn.
right.
That's from our primary caregiver, as we've
Hmm.
explained, which is mom
Hmm.
usually. And then do you want to fill them in on where the sexuality comes from, and that's not gay, straight, bi, or whatever.
Not
That's your
orientation,
how
none
you
of
show up in
that.
a relationship. Tina, ladies and gentlemen, Tina Orlando.
So you get that from your father, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, which means you're going to look for somebody, unfortunately, and I didn't realize this until way too late. You're going to look for somebody that's the opposite of you, which is very much like your primary caregiver. This is mind blowing. Like,
Hmm.
if you are most like your father and he's going to show up in your world, how you're expected to be treated in a relationship, right? Because that's what you're getting from your father, is how you will be treated in a relationship. You are then going to pick somebody most like your mother, which is your opposite.
Hopefully there's some light bulbs illuminating for many of the people right now going, huh? What the hell are
Yeah,
they talking about? I'm like my dad, but I look for my mom. Like, holy
absolutely.
Freudian slipping.
Yes. Okay. So
Oedipus Rex. What?
exactly. Um, so yeah, because you're going to, that's how you're going to expect to be treated, is how your father treats your mother, how your father,
And this is
you,
all this is all subconsciously known. These aren't conscious thoughts that we're walking
this is
around with like,
subconscious
who's my
patterns.
mom? Oh, you're not my
No,
mom. Like this is
no,
all
no.
auto
This is a
programming.
subconscious patterns that you learn at such a young age, you don't even know you're learning them. But you will, and I mean it, whether you realize it today or in 20 years when it's too late, you are going to pick somebody that acts out like your mother. If your mother gave you the silent treatment when she was mad, I guarantee you your significant other will give you the silent treatment.
Hmm.
I'm putting money on it. Think about it.
I'm immediately scanning through any long-term relationships I had,
Mm-hmm.
and I can
Mm-hmm.
really I go back to my children's amazing mother, and she's
Mm-hmm.
not like my mom.
At all.
So like, there's holes in your theory. It's this is
Oh,
these
that's not my theory.
huh? Well, the theory, the theory that you've shared. But I feel like you can poke holes in any theory because they're
You can.
theories. They're not exacts.
No.
They're general theories of.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a long time to realize that, even though there might be some, I'm giving you the example of your mother. If your mother gave you the
Although,
silent treatment as a child,
yeah.
you will then, that will show up in your relationship. I'm, in that specific thing. It could be something else that your mother does that's going to show up in the significant other. So it might be, I mean, that's just the way it is. Just think about it for a while. Let
So
it roll
I
around.
did, I was listening to you, but I was also processing what I just said about the girl's mom,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like, if I just really kind of pause and step away from the immediate kind of, well, she, like just
Mm-hmm.
that instant kind of
Right.
reaction, and I actually spend some time with it for a moment, like my mom was very strong, and like, my dad had all the so-called accolades, but my mom was a better athlete than my dad, like, but
Mm-hmm.
dad was, got he played semi-pro football, and he was a big,
Mm-hmm.
undefeated wrestling coach, and he had all these accolades that pointed to him being the superior sports person in the house. But mom would often she'd allow it, but then she would sometimes step in and go, well, and she'd kind of set the record straight about who did
Mm-hmm.
what. But
Mm-hmm.
again, even you talk about now in women's sports, right? You
Mm-hmm.
go back to like the 50s,
Mm-hmm.
it's not even close to what it's barely even now, where there's
Mm-hmm.
some mutual respect on both
Right.
sides of the
Right.
court, so to speak. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was watching that girl in the basketball, like Caitlin, I think her name is, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's
Mm-hmm.
amazing, or right?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it
I
Caitlin?
don't know.
She was
I
like the
don't know.
girl that splashed onto the pro women's. I mean, women's basketball was all over the place last
Oh,
year because of
yeah.
her. Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But
Okay.
anyways, so as I sat here thinking about this, I'm like, she was very, she was such a great mom, and my mom was a great mom. Like, Grace is a great mom. She
Mm-hmm.
is.
Mm-hmm.
She's always been there for those girls, and we've gone through a lot together as a family, So, yeah, I guess I have to like maybe acquiesce a little here and say that uh Yeah.
Just think about it. Just really
It,
honestly, you think
yeah.
about it, like not just you, but everybody. Just think about your significant other, and you're going to look for your opposite. And that opposite, if you get that your behavior from your father, you're going to find your mom.
So that this just,
Male or female doesn't matter, by the way. So for
yeah,
me, I'm like my father,
right.
so I would then instinctively, unaware, I would find somebody very much like my mother. Quiet, judging.
Was that a little peek? Like if you're
Yes, you know
listening
you
to this
know.
and not watching it, I just literally did an imagination opening of a door, peeking in. Hello.
Mm. Someday somebody
Now,
might say
again,
something.
these are theories, right? They're not concrete, but if you think about sayings, euphemisms, things that have been passed on through the decades, right?
Mhm.
You know, opposites attract. There may even
There's
be
a
a famous
reason for that.
song about that, right?
And a cat.
And a cat. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, interesting. And then isn't it Dr. Kappa's theory that this is in fact true that usually two people that are of the same side typically don't feel that?
Um, yes, but I've heard the caveat being that two physicals might work, two emos might work. Two of the same do work. Um, it depends on the varying degrees of where you fall on the scale.
Hmm.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm because
I know you know.
I'm
Yes, I know.
currently
Yes,
yeah,
I know. Yes, I
yeah,
know. But they're
yeah,
they're opposites, right? So where you have, an uh, maybe your mother is super reserved and your father's outgoing, you know.
yeah.
Emos are tend to be reserved.
Right.
Physicals tend to be outgoing.
So
So
this
along the lines of introvert, extrovert, this just
right,
simplifies it in a
right.
relationship
See,
better.
but like my personal experience is that okay, on the surface that seems to check out, opposites attract and blah blah blah, but like then there's compatibility of like
Hmm.
if if your opposite is somebody that just doesn't want to go out ever and be around large groups of people or go to sporting events, and you've got season tickets to the Florida Panthers and you go to this, like that's just not going to work. I don't
Right,
care
but
how
there's
opposite. That's too opposite almost.
that's
So how
that's
does
too
that work?
opposite. No,
That's
well,
too
when
much.
it's too opposite, it's not going to work. So you have to come into the middle of the scale, right? But here's the other thing that I find interesting is that there has to be self-acceptance of who you are, right? And self-acceptance gives you the relief to be who you are. Just like when you accept the other person, there's relief. Like, okay, so they don't
Yeah.
go to the Panthers game with you every single time. Maybe they go to, a couple games a year, but
Right.
that's also could be your time,
Yeah.
So there
Fair.
is that relief in self-acceptance and in
Yeah.
the acceptance of the other person, which then will create a more successful relationship. Because if it is that emo who is more reserved, they're going to want time away from you. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, just to clarify, like even though I'm like super direct fizzy over here, like there's definitely an emo side of me that is very
There's a little bit
strong.
of emo in all of us.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a little bit
Even
of fizz
you.
in all of us. Well, yes.
So I just love I hope people are noticing how these conversations that we have that we call our episodes is this so wonderfully fluid. It's literally like the representation of our relationship over the last 5 years, and that we
Absolutely.
don't just talk about one thing, right? So it started off with the whole bad boy versus, and there was like all this, but there was something that that just kind of came up for me that I wanted to ask you about in the spirit of linear kind of flow. um, so why do people have bad pickers?
because they want something that's bad for them because
It's
it serves them.
so selfish decision making, not listening to
No,
your inner voice. Like what? No,
sometimes
explain.
I don't think it's a selfish thing. I think it's a lesson type of thing. Like you
Mm,
haven't universally, I think that's a bigger question. I think that's a bigger question
okay,
universally. I
okay,
think there are lessons to be learned, and you're
okay.
not going to learn them with the safe choice all
So
the
no
time. You're not going
failure,
to,
just feedback kind of a thing. You
absolutely,
keep learning until you
get
learn.
it right until
Yeah,
you learn. So it's
yeah,
serving you. Like the bad choices that you make, okay, if you want to say that they're bad, generally means that you didn't learn anything from them.
yeah. There seems to be this stuck in like because as I've evolved as a spiritual being and looked inside and done self
Mhm.
work, like I see it in people that I've either dated casually or have become friendly with, and like it's one of the things is like, why do I have a bad picker? Well, you keep
That's a that's a bigger question.
right, but it is a
Mhm.
bigger, broader question that, you know, do you want to spend some time talking about, or like, what do you
Sure,
think?
we can.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
I mean, it all kind of fits together.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you could even throw the narcissist that you attract into that. Do you know anybody that was married to a narcissist that could maybe share with us some information about that, Tina?
There we
Anybody?
go.
Anybody?
Anybody? I will. I'll step
You
right up.
were.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Um,
I didn't mean to go over there either, but I mean, it
no, it's
is
fine.
something that I think that we should be
It,
including into this conversation today.
absolutely. It
Yeah,
is the one of the greatest lessons I've ever learned. Um, some narcissists are really, really bad. Some aren't that bad. Some are, on the cusp there. There's varying degrees of narcissism because we all have narcissistic traits. We
right.
all have narcissistic things that we do. And that's okay. That allows us to survive and evolve and all those other things. But when your narcissistic traits make somebody else question their sanity so that you can feel better about you, you're a narcissist.
And sounds like that narcissist might have had a sprinkling of some gaslighting on top of them as well.
Oh, narcissists are known for gaslighting.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
known, like that's their number one tactic. Um, and there are people that are narcissists that try to work on it. Unfortunately, there's no cure for a narcissist.
Not even hypnotherapy.
I don't know.
I mean, it has to start with a desire. I mean, if you go back several episodes, what the I don't even remember what the
So,
episode title
so
was about taking inventory. So does that not matter if a narcissist
no,
is
it does.
it's brought to their attention enough that they don't want to continue on? I mean,
Hmm.
people can change if they want to, if they're ready
If
to.
they want to,
Yeah,
but
so that's the issue.
I
They
mean,
probably don't
narcissism.
think. Like I've never
They
been accused of being a narcissist, so I'm like grateful for that, but I've certainly
right.
had a healthy ego along the way.
Well, that's the difference, right? A lot of people will say, that's one of the things they don't know that they're as bad as they are. I'm not talking about you, by the way.
I
You don't think that.
I did not take
Okay.
that
Okay.
personally.
I just,
So
okay.
yeah, no, we're
But
good.
they don't really know.
I would just
And
ask my sister if I ever qualified as that. She would be the authority on me.
well, like I said, we all have narcissistic traits. We all do
Right,
things from time to time in our lives. I mean, little children aren't very narcissistic, but that's because they haven't learned not to be, right? The
right.
problem is that a lot of narcissism is built out of abandonment.
Hmm.
Children that are abandoned usually by their mothers and betrayed by their fathers, watching their fathers betray their mothers, will end up being narcissistic.
Hmm.
If you have a narcissistic parent, you will have heightened narcissistic qualities. The thought is though that you would, I mean, I guess I guess you could change. You'd have to be open to being told you're a narcissist from time to time.
Well, I'm imagining that if there is such a person that is told that you repeatedly, it's kind of like the bad picker. You hear it enough, like maybe it's time to look at it.
Right, right.
But
And be really open and honest. You'd have
yeah,
to have the right care, right? Like you'd have to have a really good therapist that could, pull you back when you're like that. A partner that doesn't buy in and doesn't drink the Kool-Aid with you.
mm, the acquiesce. Yeah,
And that's who they're looking for. So if you
yeah.
are questioning whether somebody you're with is a narcissist, ask yourself this question: how many times do you acquiesce to them? How many times, if you don't, do they tell you you're crazy or that you're wrong?
Yeah, that
Or
there's the
they
gap.
belittle your
Yeah,
knowledge?
right. Or you
Um,
don't understand, or that all the gaslighting that comes after that. Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And that takes, and uh, honestly, like that's to work through not questioning yourself is not something that is easy to do, because this is, if you're with a narcissist, it's very difficult to unhook yourself from that, because they have made you question your self-assurance, your self-confidence.
I was like
And once you
literally writing down a question, and you just said the same word that I was going to ask about, which is like
hmm
if you are someone
hmm
that suffer, I mean, on the surface, you're probably not aware of it that you're suffering from low self-esteem, low
it's all built on
self-love,
them though.
huh?
It's all built on their acceptance.
Right.
They're very crafty.
Yeah, but
Narcissists are
I'm
not
saying like
stupid.
on the I don't want to say victim, but like what would be the right term for the person that is dealing with a narcissist?
Victim.
It is victim. Okay.
It is
So
victim.
if there's a moment where the victim gets this kind of moment of clarity and like wants to get help for themselves to break free from that repetitive loop that keeps playing out, is what, well, I guess we have one right in front of us who has recovered from that. What is it about self-esteem? Like, what could we tell our listeners who are going, holy shit, why did they do an episode about me? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like what
Um,
what worked for you? What help did you seek? Like in as someone that hasn't dealt with this with personally and or with a client, I mean, I've dealt
mm,
with tons of clients with like low self-esteem and low self-care and low self-acceptance and injured inner child, but
mhm,
not that manifests out into this horrible relationship with a man. I've seen it the
mhm,
other way, the men that pick the bad women, but
mhm. Women
so
can be
I
narcissists too.
yeah,
It's not just men. I'm not.
I'm very
I'm.
curious about what helped you because I want to help our audience that's connecting to this in a deeping and powerful way that's probably bringing up some oh my gods. So what would you say to them?
You. Um. You have to get away from them. 100%,
So
and don't ever
separation
look
is
back.
step one.
Run,
Hmm. That
run.
that in itself is probably the hardest thing because I'm imagining just because I know your story a little,
hmm
right?
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's definitely more than a sprinkling of bad boy. There's success that's tied to these narcissistic mother effers
hmm
that gaslight, right?
hmm
But there's some security in that, when you're with somebody that performs at a high level out in the corporate world,
hmm
or makes a ton of money, that's hard to walk away from, especially if
hmm
you don't work because you don't have to and you haven't
hmm
found your own way in life, right? Even though you
hmm
don't have to work, you still can. You can find
hmm
your own purpose in life other than
hmm
being, I hate to say it,
Expect.
eye candy, or
hmm
or be on the arm of the narcissist. What about you? I know that I'm asking you to two episodes in a row. Oh, I know.
Look, it's why I'm here,
All right.
right?
Yes. I mean, you've got
It's
so
why
much
I'm
to
here.
share, Tina. It's just really powerful, like to see you on the other side of this.
Oh, I love you
Yeah.
for that.
I love you.
Um, it's why I'm here. It's why I do the work I do. Um, you have you have to run. You have to get away from them. They will break your spirit. That is their sole thing, like because they're literally feeding off of you. And not just me, and I'm speaking in a very general term. Narcissists will they will feed off of good people,
Mm.
whether it's financially, emotionally, ecumenically, like spiritually.
Spiritual
Um,
vampires. Yeah.
absolutely. But this is a whole nother level.
Worse.
Like
Yeah.
they do it with finesse and ease and sometimes grace. They make it look so simple.
Right.
But for the person that is not the narcissist, you're walking around very empathetic. Your confidence appears to be intact, but it's not. It's not intact. You
Mm.
literally have to rebuild yourself from the ground up. And you have to rebuild yourself in a way that you didn't ever think you were going to have to,
Mm.
because you have to relearn that you might be right.
Wow. Yeah.
You might be right.
Mm.
You don't need somebody to tell you you're right. You
Right.
don't need somebody to, back up your theory for you to have the guts to say it. You don't need their confirmation. And
Mm.
these are the things that you have to relearn. Like you learn these things as a child, and then you get into a relationship with a number of narcissistic bad boys, and you're tearing apart your self-esteem and your self-confidence and your self-assurance and your self-knowledge, like stuff
Yeah.
you intuitively know. um, you're going to have to rebuild that. You're going to have to trust yourself. And if you fall, you're going to fall on your own and you're going to have to get back up on your own. But you'll be better for it every single time. Every single time.
Mm.
So, um, you need a good sounding board therapist. You need a really great hypnotherapist that will, really flood the positives of who you are,
Right.
really reinforce your self confidence and your self esteem and your self assurance.
Yeah.
Um, and you need a community around you that understands, um, even if the community is small, because you typically will have trust issues
Yeah.
after that. Trusting yourself, number one,
Right.
and then trusting other people takes time because you continuously pick people that are bad
Yeah.
until you learn the lesson. And then, damn it, it's a good day once you learn the lesson.
Yeah. If you can get
It
there.
is.
Yeah.
You can get there. You can do
Yeah.
it. You can do it. You can do it. You just, you have to really, you have to understand that you're okay without them. You're actually better than okay without them.
Mm.
They are not the be all end all of your existence.
Yeah.
You are.
But that's the story though, right? That they get sold on is that without them they'd be nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No. So here's the key phrase that a lot of narcissistic men say: no one will ever love you as much as I love you.
Mm. Hmm. It's pretty heinous.
That's a
Yeah.
horrible thing to say. That really is a horrible thing. So basically, if that's what you hear from your significant other, run, run, because in that moment, they are programming you to respond to that on a
Yeah.
subconscious level.
Right.
No one will ever love you as much as I do. No one will ever love you the way I do.
Hmm.
Really? Like you're the only person. There's 8 billion people on this planet. And here's a better question. Why would you want them? If you're really that confident and that strong, why would you want them to love you like that?
So let's go there. So
Okay.
where does this all begin? I think we're saying based on our education, our experience in general, it's the childhood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way that our parents treat us and interact with us. And then,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't just stop when you hit 8 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
There's the peer group, there's the teen years, there's the young adult. Like we're constantly picking up information along the way of who we are and how we're supposed to navigate the world. Um, it's a tricky one. There's no silver bullet here. It's about for me, I try to think about the self-awareness that becomes evident in 12-step work and 12-step
Mm-hmm.
programs of like there's a surrendering that as I was just talking to somebody about this earlier, like that there has to be this surrendering point where you give up, that you surrender to win. And then from there, you have to look at the
Mm-hmm.
truth, right? We talked about this an episode or so ago, about looking at the cold hard truth. What's real and what's imagined. And then, you know, like you said, therapist, hypnotherapist,
Mm-hmm.
like a team
Yeah.
to support you in this. In the 12-step programs, they say, "Oh, good news, you only have to change one thing.
Everything.
Everything.
Mm-hmm.
People, places, and things."
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But the other thing that came up when you were talking is you said something about community, right? The support system. I would say that's probably one of the strongest attracting principles of a 12-step program is that support. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can I've literally moved thousands of miles several times in my sobriety and like have been able to like almost instantly just kind of fall in to a group of people that are like-minded, trying to accomplish the
Mm-hmm.
same thing, do the same good, do, God's will and to be of
Mm-hmm.
love and service. I'm convinced that's why I found HMI eventually. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's support is so vital,
Absolutely.
a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
From different
Yeah.
sides,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
mental,
But they,
emotional.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, mhm.
Hmm.
It is important that there is that sense of community. Um, and that's sometimes very hard to rebuild because chances are, if you are with a a narcissist, um, they will tear apart the community also. You they are
Or
essentially the villain.
dominate the relationships, right? You hear a lot of people when they finally do split up that like, oh, well, I can't hang out with you because he picked, that whole friend separation thing of who gets what friends.
Uh-huh.
I would imagine the narcissist claims them all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They will take them all. You can have them.
So did you find cycling through this? It was what community did you connect to in your breaking free moments?
I think it was the cycling.
It's funny.
That's,
I
I
don't
mean,
know the answer to this question, ladies and gentlemen.
I think it was the cycling. I had a lot of rage. I had a lot of anger. Um,
Yeah, I would
and that
imagine.
was the only thing that I could funnel it through
Mm.
was just being this, driving force militant um, cycling instructor where I could just work my rage out in a very safe way. And I'm so sorry to any and all of my
I'm sure there's
wonderful
just as many
cycling
of those that are
friends.
grateful for your militant style that help them get their booty in shape.
Yes, but I am very sorry because there were moments where I tried to ride my own class after I hadn't ridden it in a while and went, "Wow, Tina, you are angry. Like I can't even ride that class
Mm.
now because I'm not angry." Um,
Hmm.
but um, so that is what kind of helped me get through it was doing those types of things, physical activity that I could control. Um, you know, HMI. I mean, I wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for HMI.
I'm
I would
telling
have
you.
lost
You talk
my
about
way.
community, right?
I mean, it, like I said, it was the first time I ever found a place where I fit in.
How
Um,
how how long what kind of time period are we talking between the breaking free from that situation to finding HMI? Are we talking multiple years? Is it short? Is it like right
it's short.
away? Like, because
It,
this was up in the Bay, right? So you come from
yeah,
the
yeah.
Bay area.
Yeah, I do come from the Bay Area.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it was technically it was about 2 years. Um, so um,
2 years before you
it,
found HMI, or okay.
yeah. I
All right.
mean,
So
the process was long and all that, but um, once I kind of started to rebuild, it was about 2 years. And those 2 years I spent, drill sergeant cycling poor people, like torturing poor
right.
people, um, with love, of course. But
Yes, of course.
yeah, so it was about 2 years until I
Okay.
found HMI,
All
and
right.
I wouldn't be here without HMI.
So I hope you're okay with it,
Yeah.
because I mean we have just a great interviewee to talk to about this. Just for anybody that's still with us and just like, okay, get to like, how do I get away from this effing narcissist who,
Run
yeah. So
by any means necessary, meaning, um,
okay, it's easy to say that. I'm gonna ask you. So, like, do you
okay,
like literally move out and how old are the kids? Because you have a son and a daughter at this time. I mean, you still do, but like,
yeah,
and is it like you pack up and just run to California,
yes,
Florida, South Carolina, South
Southern
Florida, and
California,
Cal is just how you say those words, Don.
SoCal.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. When I realized that, that's the moment I was like, that's it.
So
I'm
run,
somehow
you literally got in the car and
run.
drove away and moved.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it wasn't perfect. It wasn't like, oh, that was it. No, because there's all the
Oh yeah.
backslide, back
Yeah.
and forth, and you're trying to
Right.
figure it out, like who you are, what's going on. You can't even wrap your head around. For some women, especially, and I know this happens to men also, but I think the dynamic is a little different. Um, but if you're in that relationship and you know that other person is gaslighting you,
Hmm.
it's usually a sign of narcissism. Whether it's a trait or a disorder, that's up to you to decide, and for somebody that's, you know a therapist or a doctor to decide. But if
Right.
you're seeing massive narcissistic traits from your partner, you need to get out of there. It's going to be hard because there's going to be backslide, because you're going to doubt yourself. Like, are you doing the right thing? They may come back. They may boomerang constantly. You know, they're they could make it all about you and how you didn't do enough, or you did all these things that made them do those things. That's not
Right.
how grown-ups act. And I didn't know that.
Yeah. Um, was there any support? Like, was it friends? I mean, like, you would think that I would have sought this out before we recorded this, but that's not how we roll. So I
Well,
will go, before I post the episode, I'll go find some sort of helpline, or there's
okay.
got to be organizations out there to support people that are in these. No?
I don't think so. Not for this type of situation. There
Hmm.
should be.
There
There
should be,
should be.
yeah.
I mean, there's always, like, a crisis hotline. They'll listen to you.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, because honestly, if you're in a situation where you're being gaslit to the point where you're calling a crisis helpline, you need to get out of there.
right.
You need to get out of there. Listen to me. I've been there, where you don't even know what you're thinking is real anymore, because your world has been blown apart in a variety of ways.
Hmm.
Emotionally, it's blown apart, but the person that you're with doesn't look like the person you have known the whole time. All of a sudden, they're somebody else. Now, for their own reasons, these things can happen, but they're showing you who they are. Believe them.
Or is it that they've always been like that and you're just waking up to it? A little bit of both, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. There's no, I mean, only in retrospect can you answer that question. In the
Sure.
moment, you cannot. You
Yeah.
just don't even know what to do anymore. And,
Right.
you know, when you're dealing with somebody that is on that spectrum, for lack of a better words, of being a narcissist or
Hmm.
severely showing narcissistic traits, um, there's not much you can do. All you can do is get out of there because it turns into a battle of I'm strong enough to take this because you think that you can do this. No, you can't.
Right.
You can't. You need to run. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I don't see myself as weak, or some shrinking violet. Like, you got to run. You got to go.
Yeah, that's the surrender to win that I just love that philosophy from that I picked up in 12 step rooms, which is, you're not a loser, you're not a failure. You're like you give up so that you can win
Hmm.
and
You
take
have to. You
control.
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to just, and, it depends on how much time you have invested in this relationship. If you've got 6 months invested, just leave, just go. It's
Right.
not even worth it. If you've got a lifetime, you're going to try and fight. You're going to try and stand your ground. I'm telling you right now, don't even bother. I hate to be the one to tell you, like, but I don't pull punches. I don't sugarcoat.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, like, the dynamics of the relationship. Um, no relationship's perfect. Every relationship has problems. Yes, yes, yes. All those things are true.
Right.
No one person is to blame solely for everything. But the minute somebody gaslights you, the relationship is over.
So do
They
we
are
want to
telling you,
define gaslighting at least so just in case there's somebody that's not really clear on what this means? Do you
I
have
mean,
a I mean, I
the
have a definition that, but I'm curious from your lips to our ears, like what do you mean when
when you
what
say
are
to
the telltale
somebody,
signs of somebody gaslighting you?
okay, well, when you say to somebody, um, I
You'll
saw you, what? Go ahead.
no, I was going to repeat what you said about 35 minutes ago, which is no one will love you like me, that kind of
That's
thing.
one.
That
That's
yeah,
one.
yeah. All right,
Um, the other one is, the true moment of gaslighting is I saw you do A, B, and C.
hmm.
And the narcissist who gaslights you, will turn around and say, no, you didn't. I
Uh,
wasn't there. That's not me. No, no,
yeah,
I saw you. No, no, I wasn't there.
yeah.
That, and then they'll follow it usually with, why are you acting so crazy?
Hmm.
Let me be the one to tell you all. Run. It's over. It's done. Don't waste your time. And I know people will do it until they learn their own lessons, until they realize that there's nothing they can do to save it.
Yeah.
I know,
You have to
but
have that moment before you can take action, right?
yeah, you have to. You
Yeah.
have to have it.
And isn't that really like I don't hate to paint a bridge here, but like isn't that I mean that's what I see with any client that comes to me for hypnotherapy, even if it's to quit smoking or dipping
It's serving you.
or yeah, it's that decision is so vital.
Well, it's serving you in some way, right? Something in it is serving you. Either it's the lesson or there's some part of you that is unhealed that you're
Hmm.
trying to heal through somebody else.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. Like, there's a reason why you keep staying. Most of the time, it's because you've already been quietly convinced you can't do it yourself
Mm,
in some way. Your
right.
intelligence, and I'm not just speaking, personally, I'm saying in general, but
Yeah.
in some way, your intelligence and your self assurance has been questioned. Absolutely. And that is how they manipulate it. The minute somebody tells you that you're overreacting and you're crazy, when you know you saw something for yourself with your own eyes,
Yeah.
it's done. Leave. Save yourself.
Yeah, manipulating of perceptions, ideas, memories, of sanity is the number one item that popped up when I was looking into this, when we first were talking about maybe talking about this, and
Hmm.
then the episodes just kind of evolved naturally from there. So
Yeah.
um,
And the other side is that when, like it is one of those buzzwords people say, like, oh, that person's so narcissistic. Chances are they're probably not. They
right,
probably are just showing you narcissistic traits, which we all
right,
have.
sure.
It's kind of falling, unfortunately, into the buzzword category.
Right. I'm
Um,
so depressed, but you're not clinically depressed, kind of that
right,
thing. I'm
right.
so
I'm
much
so
anxiety,
triggered.
but you're not,
Right,
you know,
right, right,
diagnosed. Yeah, yeah.
right. And you, in order to be diagnosed with narcissism, there's a lot of traits that have to be check marked, and a
Mm,
lot of core values that have to be check marked. But regardless,
right,
in a relationship, when you say, I saw you, and they say, no, you didn't,
right.
the relationship is over.
Mm,
I don't care who you are. I don't care. You can all tell me I'm wrong. I just know better. It's true. It's true.
mm,
Because that's their main thing is anybody that's working out in that narcissistic frame of mindset, their whole job is to get you to question yourself so that you will then rely on them for your own sanity.
all right. So, wow, we've covered a lot today. Um, so I think, uh, what would you say to leave our listeners with? What's the best thing that anyone could do for themselves in all of the, like, bad picker, being attracted to the opposite that isn't healthy for you, like, which is part of this gaslighting and
Hmm.
narcissism, right?
Hmm.
It's just those are extreme examples of the
Hmm.
wrong person for you.
Right. Right.
What would you leave us with as far as if you're not sure, if you're questioning, the health of your relationship, what would you, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but like anything come to mind, like what to do first?
If you're in a relationship and you're questioning your sanity, because
Mm,
forget about the other person, this comes down to you. In order to be in a decent relationship, you have to have a decent relationship with yourself.
yeah,
And if you're questioning yourself, you're not in a decent relationship with yourself or somebody else. So maybe spend some time really focusing on you and being in a better relationship with yourself. Learn to trust yourself.
yeah,
And you might notice that that other person really doesn't hold as much water with you. Like once you trust yourself,
right.
you
Peel
know,
back
that's,
the veil.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it comes down to you. It doesn't come down like
right.
stay or go, leave or take it,
Changing them is
whatever.
not an option.
It's not an option. I don't care if you've been in that relationship for 20 years. It's
Yeah,
or 20 minutes. It's not an option. All you could do is so if you're out in the world and you've had narcissistic relationships and you're afraid to get back in there or you even try to, all I could say is build the relationship with yourself, trust yourself. Um you'll know the truth when you hear it.
yeah,
You will know it and it won't get past you again because of course you're going to be, five alarms are going to go off. You're going to
right,
know it in yourself when somebody tries to do that to you. You'll notice it in, business relationships or just friendships or people that you just meet. You'll see it. It'll be
right.
very clear if you do the work with yourself, you'll see it in other people. So spend the time with yourself.
All starts with ourselves, doesn't it?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
I find
absolutely.
myself saying this a lot. I seem to be attracting people that are reaching outside of themselves for comfort instead of
Mm.
within. I'm thoroughly convinced that it's because we're not taught those tools anywhere in our lifetime unless you
Right,
seek out self-help
right.
or hypnosis or therapy, or we're just not raised to self-soothe. So we're thumb in the mouth, we're blanket,
Hmm.
we're
Hmm.
favorite toy, there's something always outside of us that
That's
mine was
okay.
television, like literally plopped down in front of the TV because I
Hmm.
was old enough to be on my own and my brother and sister were in diapers, and so that
Hmm.
became and is still my go-to for
It's
comfort.
okay though. That's okay. I mean, it's okay to want comfort and love and attention and affection from other
Mhm.
people, but I mean, you have to know yourself first. Like you have to be in that state where you can accept those things. Remember, it comes down to acceptance.
Yeah, receiver. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
You have to be accept yourself, accept, your flaws. You have to accept, the things you've been through. Like your biggest mistake will also be your greatest lesson if you give it the opportunity to show you.
That is my collective experience. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
painful, but
absolutely.
pain can be very motivating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it also shows you,
Said the spin doctor, the spinstress.
yes. Yeah. So, but yeah, no mistakes. They're just feedback. No failure. There's no
Yeah.
failure. It's just feedback. That doesn't work. Move along, you know. And if
Yep.
like in your gut something doesn't feel right, your subconscious is speaking to you. The question is, are you listening?
Sometimes you got to turn it up. Thank you,
Hmm.
Tina.
Hmm.
All right. So, like, subscribe, follow, comment, ask
Share.
questions. We're here for it. You can contact us in the show notes. I'm going to go
Absolutely.
find something to point people to that want help in a general way. And
Hmm.
obviously, my dear friend Tina here has specific experience with this. So, if you are seeking help, she'd be a great person to reach out to. So,
I am here.
yeah.
This is what I do.
All right.
Hmm.
Well, there you go. Our subconscious
Hmm.
speaks.
Are you listening?
I am.
I'm listening.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.